My name is Geert van den Bosch, and I got trained in veterinary medicine and then specialized in virology and molecular biology, and worked for a long time in academia, did my PhD in virology, and then joined the vaccine industry, where I worked for a number of years, as well in late development, very close to the product, as well as in the research department. I then joined the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, where I primarily was working on new vaccines, a new vaccine design to tackle a number of diseases that we cannot currently tackle with our current vaccines. I also worked with the Global Alliance for Vaccines and Immunization, Gavi, and I'm now working as a consultant for the biotech. And I got deeply involved in this pandemic, where I have been particularly fascinated by the interplay between the virus and the immune system at a population level, and the evolutionary dynamics of the virus, how the virus reacts to the immune system. For example, when we do mass vaccination, that has been my concern from the very beginning. Doing mass vaccination in the midst of a pandemic of a highly mutable virus, and thereby giving the virus a chance to escape from the immune response. First of all, I would like to say that the COVID crisis has been fundamentally mismanaged by a number of people who thought they would be able to outsmart the virus and its evolutionary capacity by substituting insane measures for sound science and immunology. So the first thing I would like to highlight is that COVID-19 disease is not a disease of healthy people. People who are in good health have a healthy innate immune system that can deal with a number of respiratory viruses without any problem. So these people are not only protected against the disease, but they can even in many cases prevent infection. These are people who can contribute to sterilizing immunity and to herd immunity, which is very, very important. So first lesson, never ever allow anything or anybody to interfere or to suppress your innate immune system. You can do a bad job yourself by not having a healthy life. That is going to suppress your innate immunity. But even worse so, vaccine antibodies, the antibodies that are induced by the current vaccines, do suppress your innate immunity. And these vaccinal antibodies, they cannot substitute for it, because we know that the vaccinal antibodies are losing their efficacy against the virus. They are becoming less and less effective. And as we know, in contrast to the innate immunity and to the innate antibodies, they cannot prevent infection, they cannot sterilize the virus, and therefore they do not contribute to herd immunity. This is, first of all, very, very important with regard to the children. The children's innate immunity can easily be suppressed by vaccinal antibodies, because children are what we call immunologically naive. Their antibodies, they are so young and so naive that they can easily be outcompeted by vaccinal antibodies. Now, these innate antibodies protect young children from a number of several different diseases. So suppressing their innate immunity, preventing them from getting protected against these diseases, and replacing this by vaccinal antibodies that have maybe still some kind of efficacy against COVID-19 disease, severe COVID-19 disease, but not against all these other diseases, is very, very bad. On top, it is very clear, if we suppress these innate antibodies in children, this could even lead to autoimmune diseases. And there are immunologically explanations and a rationale to explain this. So this is an absolute no-go. We cannot vaccinate our children with these vaccines. The suppression of the innate immunity is already a problem in vaccinees, And they are going to have indeed a difficult time to control a number of diseases, not just COVID-19, but also other diseases. And it will require a fundamental and a very dramatic change in the strategy and also in the measures to help vaccinees. And really, my heart goes out to the vaccinees to help them as much as we can, because they will need extensive treatment in many cases. Of course, their innate antibodies, because they got trained already, are usually more resistant to the vaccinal antibodies than the innate antibodies of the young and naive children. But nevertheless, there is pressure from the vaccinal antibodies on their innate immunity as well, which means boosting them, giving the vaccinees a third dose. This is absolutely insane, because what it will do is it will just increase the pressure, the immune pressure of the vaccinal antibodies on their innate immunity. So boosting is an absolute nonsense. It is dangerous and it should not be done. So what about now the unvaccinated people? Well, the unvaccinated people, we have three categories. There are the people who have never felt anything, who have gone through this pandemic, had no disease whatsoever. This is the first class. They are most likely simply protected by their innate antibodies that do such a fantastic job that they neutralize the virus right away when it comes in and they don't feel anything. Then we have the people who had mild disease. They didn't even need to go to bed or whatever, but they didn't feel well, mild disease, and it's all well described what it is. And then we have people who really had the disease, and sometimes even severe disease, and who recovered from the disease. And these are the people who are here, right? All these people normally would be completely protected against the disease, and it can be shown that this is directly or indirectly, I'm not going to go in the immunological details, but that is directly or indirectly also due to innate immunity. Because even people who get the disease, their infection or disease get mitigated by the first line of immune defense, which is innate immunity. So that means that I was saying, normally they are protected against disease, but what is happening now? We have a different pandemic. Now we have a high infectious pressure. We have a high infectious pressure because the Delta variant, which is highly infectious, is circulating. And that is, why is this Delta variant dominant? This is because of the mass vaccination. We have put so much pressure on the virus that it has selected the best candidate that can overcome this immune pressure. Because of this infectious pressure, and this can also be immunologically shown, these people have now gotten some pressure on their innate immunity. Does it mean that the innate immunity is completely suppressed? No. Does it mean that these people completely use their capacity to defend themselves against the virus through their innate immunity? No. What it means is that, for example, people who didn't get any symptoms at all may now get mild disease. It means that people who got mild disease may right now get moderate disease. Yes, they may maybe be 1 or 2 days in bed. And the people who recovered from disease, they may experience some higher susceptibility to some other diseases, for example, influenza or the common cold. But very, very importantly, they are all protected. They are still all protected against severe disease, and the majority of them will even be protected against very mild or moderate disease. So there is no question that people who had or not vaccinated will be suffering from severe disease, provided 3 conditions. The first condition is that they stay, for God's sake, unvaccinated. They should stay unvaccinated. Secondly, they should take care of their innate immunity. So that means they should take care of their health. People should get rid of their fat. They should do exercise. They can take vitamins, supplements that stimulate their innate immunity, but they should have a healthy life and a healthy lifestyle. Now is the time to do this, I swear God, if you do this and you are unvaccinated, you will be spared from severe disease without any vaccine. On the contrary, the vaccine would do the opposite. And third condition, of course, in order for this to help, you cannot have underlying diseases. Are we going to discriminate these people? Of course not. Should these people with underlying diseases whose innate immunity is compromised, should they get a vaccine? No, even these people should not get a vaccine because it's going to further suppress their innate immunity. And we know that the vaccinal antibodies are increasingly losing their efficacy. So what these people should do, they are threatened, of course, and I said they will not withstand the high infectious pressure that is currently existing because of the Delta variant. So these people should still stick to the extent possible to infection prevention measures, and they should be careful about contacts, right? And especially, and this is not to discriminate against the vaccinees, but they should especially avoid contacts at this point in time with vaccinees, because the vaccinees are now the people, and that there is no doubt about this, who are really serving as a kind of breeding ground for the virus. So we need to have an extra protection for those who have underlying diseases, not vaccinate them, but in fact prevent them from being exposed to high infectious pressure. So to conclude, first of all, what does the science tell us? Well, the science tells us that it is innate immunity and not the vaccine-induced immunity that is going to protect us. And for those who are interested in learning more about this, there is an interview of mine tonight on the High Wire, Delbig3, where I clearly explain this from an immunological viewpoint. So the second important thing is people should no longer be worried about whom am I exposed to, whom am I in contact with, can this or this people contaminate me, or can I get infected? This is not a question, because this leads to discrimination. It doesn't make sense. What we need to worry about is how can we protect ourselves? That is the key question. We cannot avoid exposure. It's impossible. How should we protect ourselves? That's the key question. And the third thing is, I know you guys are all worried about your freedom, about the lockdowns, etc. What you should fight for, the only fight you should have, is the fight for your health. Not fight against other people, the fight for your health, not getting vaccinated. And don't worry too much about the measures that are right now implemented, because I tell you, and I'm certain, I'm 100% certain, this cannot last for a long time. We see already that the percentage of people who get hospitalized amongst the vaccinees is now steadily increasing, whereas more and more, with training of the innate immune system, with more exposure to the virus, more and more non-vaccinated people get protected. So, and I'm talking in terms of ratios, not absolute numbers. This will shift, and this will lead inevitably, and I'm not a doomspreacher, this will inevitably lead to a collapse of our health system. It cannot be otherwise. So these measures cannot, it's not sustainable. It will not long for a long time. So don't worry too much about this. I would say stay calm. And with that, I'm wishing you a successful rally. But think about this. Es gibt diesen Spruch, in der Ruhe liegt die Kraft. So keep it peaceful. Thank you all.